Hello, hello. Can you hear me now? We are back in it. Technical difficulties about that. It's another Wednesday here at the Wheelhouse. Welcome to another Wheelchair Wednesday. I'm your host, Wheelchair Rick. I'm a T3, T4 complete paraplegic, and today we have another special guest. But before we get to the special guest, we got to roll that intro, and then we'll roll it. Let's do it. So today's special guest, we have the one and only Miss Teka Perry. Howdy. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. So as we spoke, you said you've never done nothing like this before. This is kind of your first time. And You are Miss Wheelchair Wyoming, correct?
Yes, I am.
Before we get started, the first question is, how did it happen? What's your level of injury? Let's go ahead and tell people kind of like your backstory and how you became, Miss Wheelchair Wyoming.
Okay, so you want my injury or how I became Ms.
Well,
Wheelchair
I would say
Wyoming
start out with the injury and then just go from there.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. So I actually am C4, C5 incomplete quadriplegic. I was injured on September 1st of 2019 in an automobile accident. My ex-fiance was drinking and driving. He was almost twice the legal limit that day.
Wow.
And so I was paralyzed as a result. And so that's pretty much like my backstory. And over the last 3.5 years, it's been crazy. And I applied for the Ms. Wheelchair Wyoming back in November or December and ended up getting it in January of this year. So I've been doing that. Very interesting, very something that I've never done before. But I'm taking it one day at a time with that and going out and spreading advocacy for the disability community here in Wyoming.
Nice. So it kind of, you've been probably pretty much as long as me. I was October 2019. So
Okay.
you're right about 3 years or so. And it seems like you've made a choice too, just like we all have to. Once you wake up in that hospital bed, you have to make a choice. It's one or the other. You know what I mean? And it
Absolutely.
seems like you've chosen to do positive things, which is awesome. My second question I got for you is it's a crazy one. Is would you walk if you could? Now, by meaning, what that means is if you could go back to that day or night and not get injured and know what you had to do to not get injured, your life would start all over from there. Would you start there, or would you keep where you're at now because of where your life is at?
That's such a tough question because, yeah, absolutely. I would love to still be walking again and still have, those things in my life. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of opened up opportunities for me to be like a public speaker or motivational speaker or do all those sorts of things. Because if you would have asked me almost 4 years ago if I would be a public speaker or motivational speaker, I would have laughed in your face and said, absolutely not. There's absolutely no way I would do that.
Right.
So like I said, tough question there. Yes and no.
That's the first one. That's the first time we've ever heard a yes and no. Nice. I understand though, 100% completely. Because me doing this, this is kind of my public speaking and getting in front of a big crowd and doing that stuff. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I could probably work myself up to it, but I get what you're saying. It's kind of like, you don't never think you do it until you do it and you realize that you're probably actually helping people.
Right. Absolutely.
Yep. Third question. I know as a lot of the dudes always want to know, dating, married, and how does it go and how has it went and stuff like that.
Well, right now I'm single and I don't know. Dating has been kind of weird. So weird. So I don't know. I'm on
the fence about it.
On the fence about dating and stuff like that. I've done the online dating before and it has not brought many good things. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought like it's always kind of a win and wear situation. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it all depends on timing and everything else. And I mean, you can find a million people, but it doesn't mean that any one of those people are going to vibe with you. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
last up.
Exactly.
Especially being in a
Yep.
wheelchair. I mean, that's got to be so difficult. I feel lucky that I've
Yeah.
had mine before. You know what I mean? And me and her stuck through it. She stuck with me. Luckily,
Yeah,
she's one
that's
of the
good.
rare ones that do. You know, that has. So
Yeah.
I definitely feel blessed, and I thank God every day for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, well, I wish you the best of luck on that venture. I know it's got to be a pain in the butt.
So weird.
Next question is pet peeves. What is your biggest pet peeve about being in a wheelchair?
When people don't understand what the yellow lines are for,
Oh, I hate that.
where the handicap parking is, or when there's not enough handicap parking.
Yep, I'm right with you there. Deal with it every day. Every time you go out, it's always a hassle trying to find good parking that's accessible and you can get into, and
Yeah.
nobody's going to block your door off or something. Because I have a side-loaded
Exactly.
van, so
Yeah, mine too.
yep.
So it's definitely a lot of people park on those yellow lines or the blue lines or whatever next to the handicap sign, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, I was gonna park there, but
All right, I guess I'll just
I
not
can't.
go in the store then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. What type of vehicle do you have, and do you roll up and drive it? You lock into it and drive?
Yeah, I have a Toyota Sienna. So yeah, I just roll up and lock in and
Nice.
head out.
That is cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
You got a name for your van?
No, I've never been one to give names to vehicles, honestly.
Nice. I called mine Sassy only because she was a 2019 Chrysler Pacifica Sports Edition. So she's got a little
yeah.
pep to her. And
Okay.
trying to get the hand controls right, like, she's had as an attitude. She, sometimes she works, sometimes she don't. She almost left us stranded the first day we had her. So
Oh no.
yeah, we didn't know how to operate the manual controls for the ramp to come in and out. Oh man,
Yeah.
we learned it. We learned quick, but it was an ordeal.
Adapt and overcome for sure.
Right. So the next question is, what is something that you wish you could do that you no longer can do?
Like one of the biggest things for me is being able to like get on the floor and wrestle with my kids and do stuff like that.
Just like extracurricular playing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now my kids are in soccer, and it would just be nice to be able to go out there and kick the ball around with them.
Yeah.
And do all that kind of stuff. And yeah, being out on the lake, like that was one of my biggest things that we love to do during the summer. And I can't wakeboard like I used to, and obviously, so
yeah, I was never a water guy, but I totally understand that. I mean, especially the soccer thing.
yeah.
And Harold 4, he said, I thought you were not on until 7. That we are on at 7. This is just before that. This is the Wheelchair Wednesday, Harold. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. But no, I totally understand that. Like, it's just the kid thing, too, really got me because my son was, like, into big to kick the ball and stuff around. I used to do that with him, and then I got injured.
Yeah.
And now even, like, throwing the football, if you don't throw it right at me, I tell him, I can't shuffle from side to side, buddy. Like, you know what I mean? Either you throw it right at me or you're going to have to go get it, or you're going to have to wait for me to go get it,
Yeah, exactly.
But he's adapted well. I feel like, the children, as long as they got a good support system, they can adapt pretty well. And they can kind of become your helpers.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, my kids were real young when my accident happened. My daughter was 2 and my son was 6.5. So
Right.
Yeah, they've adapted pretty well to my injury, and it's kind of nice too because they will go out and they won't look at somebody different because they're in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. I told my fiance, I says, man, if I knew I was going to be in a wheelchair, I would have had probably 4 more kids. Help out around the house. Do all the things that I can't do or something. But
yeah.
Yep. what is your pain level like? Do you have any pain, and what's that like?
Yeah, I do. I mostly have like nerve pain and then shoulder and neck pain from driving. But honestly, I'm kind of lucky I don't have a ton of pain anywhere else. Like my nerve pain is really what bothers me the most.
Right.
And it's usually on my arms and my hands.
Okay. And
So,
you're a quadriplegic, right?
yep,
Okay.
I'm
All right.
at the C4 level, C4, C5 level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So pretty high up.
Yeah. Everybody's different. I've talked to obviously a lot of people on here about pain levels and stuff, and it really varies, and it's something right now that I don't think the medical industry has really any idea. They're still learning. You know what I mean? Every time we do
Yeah.
something, it's still learning.
Yep.
Um. So, but yeah, yeah, that's a question I like to ask because I myself wonder. I mean, I deal with chronic pain all day long, but they got me on
Mm-hmm.
gabapentin and stuff, and other people are like, "Well, we don't take no pills," and I'm like, "Man, I wish I couldn't. I wish I could go without, but it
Yeah, I'm
hurts
on
without it."
gabapentin too. I'm on the max dose of gabapentin. I don't. If I think if I wasn't on the max dose, I would still be able to feel the nerve pain pretty severely.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm
So
close to it. They got me on 800 milligrams, so that's 3 times a day, and I mean, I can tell.
yeah,
Like without it, I can tell it's
yeah,
pretty painful.
yeah. Same. If I skip like a day, I'm like, okay, this is not happening again.
Right.
So
Question number 7 is, what helps you the most after your injury?
what? I'm sorry. Say that again.
So like, what was your biggest like help after your injury? Like after you got injured, what did you like look for to kind of help you get through it? What helped you the most?
Oh, my family and my support system that I have, like family, friends. That was like the biggest support, and um, that those were my people that helped me through everything.
Right.
Um, I think if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have wanted to continue on. I mean, because there for a while I didn't.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think all of us kind of go through that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's you got to fight through it. And I mean, it's we just because you can get out of it one day, don't mean it's gonna come. It ain't gonna come back because it does.
exactly. It does.
Hmm.
And I definitely have my bad days. Um, just because I'm, happy and I post a lot of like different things on Facebook doesn't mean that I don't have those certain days or even those couple of days in a row that I'm not, down and depressed and
Right.
have anxiety.
Yep.
So,
Yep. That's definitely a big factor in having a STI.
yep.
What's it? Kim says GABA. I heard cyclobin is very helpful. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Cyclosabin. But yeah. So my next question is, what is your hobbies? Did you have any hobbies before, and did you keep those after, or did you switch them after the injury?
Yeah. So, my hobbies were like being out at the lake, floating the river, playing volleyball, all that stuff, playing with my kids. Um, and now I find myself watching a lot more TV than I didn't do before.
Right.
I still try to get out to the lake and float the river every summer, but it just looks a lot different, and I have to have a lot more help than to be able to like get me on a boat or in a tube for floating and
Right.
stuff like that. So, and
I always look at
sometimes I
those like
don't
you don't
always
want to
have
do
that.
it. You might not want to take the effort just to do it because you're like, we're going to go through all this and then what? I get to go there and sit there because that's kind of how I feel. And then we get there and then I'm like, well, this is actually fun. I'm glad we did this. You know what I mean? Do you
Yeah.
have those feelings?
Uh, no, I usually just really want to do it,
You're like,
and
let's go. Let's get it done.
yeah, exactly. But like I said, I don't always have that help to be able to get me on a boat or in a tube. And so I have to make sure that if I'm going out to the lake or if I'm floating the river, that I have that extra help to be able to transfer me since I can't transfer myself onto those things very easily.
Right. Awesome. Well, I mean, at least, it sounds like you're still able to do those things when you get the right
Yeah.
help,
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. Now, not the last, but right next to the last question is traveling. Do you like to do it? Do you do it?
I haven't traveled much since my accident. I've only been on an airplane twice since my accident, and that was to go do some stem cells.
Oh, wow. Yep, never been on an airplane. I heard it's torturous for wheelchair users.
Yeah, I was with my ex when I did travel those 2 times, and so he made it obviously a lot easier than if I were to be traveling like with somebody else. But also, that was like right after my accident, like a couple months after my accident, and so I wasn't as far along as I am now with mobility and function and everything like that. Right. To be able to, transfer myself onto like an aisle seat, because that's what they have to do. They have to transfer you onto an aisle seat before you can.
Yeah, I've heard they put you on a little skinny wheelchair to take you in and then kind of bump you over. And I don't want to fly either. Like, I have no interest in flying, but like, even if I ever have to, like, I know it's going to just be like in my head the whole time until I get on there.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't travel a lot before, but it's something that I definitely want to do. But you have to have the right help. You have to have the right people around you. It is a hassle.
Yeah.
So you just have to make sure you have the right things and the right tools and everything.
Yep. Sounds like as long as you're planned out and you know what you're doing and where you're going and everybody, does what they're supposed to do, it makes it a lot easier for you.
Right. Absolutely.
My last question is, I believe one of the more important ones is what piece of advice, what's the one piece of advice you would give to a newly injured person?
Never give up. Honestly, that's like one of the biggest things is never give up. You're going to be down and depressed for a while, but you're going to get through those days. But you just can't ever give up. Yeah. And trust me, I've had a lot of those days where I wanted to give up. A lot of those days where I just didn't want to live anymore. And but I pushed through it and still here, still going, still kicking. And I mean, not literally kicking.
Hey, you know what? I'll take it. I will take it. Boom, shock a day. I like it. Now, yeah, I want to say I do appreciate you being on here. That's a great piece of advice. Never give up. I was just going to add to that too. Like, it's like you said earlier, you're going to have bad days no matter what. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But once you hit that one good day, it's going to make up for it. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm glad that I'm still here for this. And I get to see this or something like that. Yeah. Yep. Kim, we're going to read that afterwards. She says, she saw a week ago on Spinal Cord Support Group a question about gabapentin and dementia. To that, a person said, cyclobin microdosing. Oh, it's like shrooms, mushrooms. Have you heard of that? That helps you with your pain?
No, I've heard of microdosing with shrooms, but yeah. Okay, no, I get what she's saying. Okay, yeah. I have heard of that. Yeah.
I don't know. I've in my young age, I've done shrooms a couple times, and like, I mean, I had fun, but it's like now that I'm in a wheelchair, I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about it. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Like that's the thing is, I've never done drugs. I've never done any of that stuff. So, I don't know how I would feel about it. I do know, like, if I have a little bit more, like if I get tipsy or if I drink a little bit more than I should, then I'm like, okay, how am I going to function and push or use my wheelchair? Most of the time I don't drink because I drive. Right. And obviously that was the reason for my accident. And so I'm always the DD. So yeah, different. Yeah. It's a different lifestyle, but like I said, with like shrooms and stuff like that, Yeah. I
Well, like
don't
she
know
said
about
too, she
that.
said not the whole, like not taking on a full on trip, just microdosing doesn't
Yeah.
really give you the whole thing. So I mean, I have kind of heard stuff like
Right.
that. I've just never, you know, what I mean, I've never been around to like try it or have anybody offer it or anything. But
Yeah.
I mean, if it comes down to it, you know, if it's more, I'm down to try anything as long as it's not like sticking needles in my spine or, you know, like the Elon Musk chip in your brain. Would you ever do that? The Neuralink?
Yeah. Yeah.
You would do that? You're
I would.
full on Neuralink, huh?
I would want to try it. I know it's so scary, but
I feel like that's one of those things you can't just try though. Like you just, you know what I mean? Like they're literally putting that into your,
yeah,
you know, that'd be
I know.
scary.
It would be scary, but you never know until you try, I guess. And so, I
Hey,
don't know.
microdosing. You just said it. You never know.
Yep, true. True.
Oh, I'll be at the National Microdosing in Wyoming here this summer. I'll
Yep.
call you and we'll meet up. No, that's totally joking. I'm just joking, folks. But no, yeah, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on. And we will
Absolutely.
post this if you want. I can put all your social media stuff in the thing after we get done here. I'll just throw it all in the description. I got to fix it anyway because we were kind of in a hurry to get this going. I know you got stuff to do, and I got stuff to do this evening. So I do want to say I appreciate it once again. Thank you for coming
Yes,
on
thank
here.
you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then stick with us because you know, eventually I might want to get people back and do like kind of a questionnaire, maybe with you and a couple other people, if you ever you know want to jump back in. So now you're in the
Yeah,
Wheelchair Wednesday
absolutely.
family.
Cool.
All right, well, thanks again, and I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody else, thanks for watching Wheelchair Wednesday, and we will see you next time.